Have you ever started a course or a job or got a promotion and instantly felt like you weren't good enough for it and that you're going to get found out as a fraud? Maybe you felt like you were out of your depth or winging it. That's imposter syndrome. We all feel it at some point, and in this episode we're going to explore why and what you can do about it.
Welcome to the Gen XZ Exchange. I'm Chris Perkins, Gen X parent, now 50-something empty nester with a fair few professional ups and downs under my belt.
And I'm Lily Perkins, Gen Z career explorer, here to learn some shortcuts from my dad while teaching him a few things. We swap insights on career choices, work and life in general.
So whether you're a Gen X parent trying to figure out midlife's challenges,
or a Gen Z young professional or student figuring out adulthood, you're in the right place.
I was really surprised that you knew about this, Lily, when you first mentioned it. Do you remember where you first heard about imposter syndrome?
Yeah, no, I think I'm kind of surprised that you were surprised, because I feel like actually, I don't know, maybe people are talking about it more, but I think I probably first became kind of familiar with it in school.
Okay.
Back when I was doing more kind of like STEM subjects. Being a young girl, I was pretty girly and pretty into like her hair and nails and makeup and all the rest of it. I think I always felt a bit like out of place and underqualified, even if I was like getting good grades and doing well. And I was like, what's going on? I don't fit in with my peers. So yeah, probably then. And then I think it kind of had a knock-on effect, because I started doubting. It's when you start doubting yourself, and it's like you almost like manifest that for yourself. You like convince yourself, oh, maybe I actually don't belong here.
Yeah, I guess so. You know, you can get into a bit of a cycle.
A rut, yeah.
Do you remember if you first heard about it online or from friends or teachers?
I'm actually not sure. I imagine it will have been online. I don't know if that was me like Google searching, like, why do I feel this way? What's wrong with me? I think when you're a teenager, well, for my generation, like growing up with the internet, I think your teenage years, you spend a good portion of them Googling what's wrong with me, what's going on. So probably was one of those. But then, I mean, you didn't have Google when you were growing up. Did you learn about it when you were growing up, or was it like a bit later in life?
No, I think it was probably in management training or something, kind of partway through my career. I think that's where I first heard about it.
It probably was more of like a work term or a psychology concept, and then it seems to have seeped its way into like the mainstream, and a lot more people are aware of it now.
Yeah, and I'm sure they are amongst your generation, you know, if they're still at school or university. I definitely hadn't heard about it at that point. I was probably well into my 20s at work when it first came up, and it probably was a management training thing.
So let's define it then. What can that feel like? What can it look like?
It can feel like self-doubt, as you said. You know, you're doubting yourself. You fear being exposed as a fraud. Mm-hmm. Or you put your success down to just luck. You're downplaying your achievements.
Yeah.
And you feel like you have to succeed at everything, that you can't afford to get anything wrong.
I think it's feeling like you can't afford to make mistakes, because it's almost like fuel for your negativity about yourself. Yeah. It's like the compulsion to like go above and beyond. Like, I need to be achieving highly and doing really well and making absolutely no mistakes. And then even if I do go on and do all those things and perform really well, I think there's an element of even kind of feeling like you don't deserve that success, so you've not done enough to earn it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So you've been looking into it. What have you found out?
Well, a key thing is it's different to actual incompetence. It's different to actually being underqualified and not knowing what you're doing.
Which is what gave us an idea for another episode about bad bosses, which is coming up.
If we want to talk about actually incompetent people, stay tuned. But imposter syndrome is when people who are actually good at what they do are constantly worrying about underperforming and being like found out as a fraud, or like they've not done enough to, you know, earn their position or earn the good grades that they've got or the internship that they've got for them, you know, whatever it may be. It's like feeling like you have kind of snuck your way in, even if you put in hours of hard work or you're gifted or whatever it may be. So yeah, some recent research has shown that 50 to 65% of people actually say they've experienced it. So it's common. And one study even said that as much as 80% of knowledge workers face either burnout or imposter syndrome. And I think the two probably go hand in hand as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's not limited to early career professionals. Over half of the people who report experiencing it are Gen X or millennials as well, because I think you'd maybe think if you're new, you're inexperienced, you're going to be more likely to have these feelings. But obviously, it just continues on into life, which is great news for me.
Yeah, it does indeed.
The joys. For Gen Z, the survey says between 66 and 78% have felt it. But I think that higher rate might be because we're more open to talking about it and mental health and our experience of the workplace as well. Not necessarily just being chalked up to an experience, although that will definitely play a part. So yeah, if you're feeling it, whatever generation you're in, so do most other people. You're not alone. It seems to be a pretty common situation. The early observations of imposter syndrome in the 70s were mainly on high achieving women who felt their success was unearned. And I think that's still a very big factor. It definitely was for me personally when I studied a STEM subject, even in my humanities subject now, and also in a lot of different spaces, not just work or school related. I think it's quite sad that not a lot has changed in 50 years, because I know that this is the same for a lot of my female friends and colleagues.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's different types of imposter syndrome too. The perfectionist is one type, and this is someone who believes they've failed unless they achieve 100% of their expectations. So it's having unrealistically high goals for yourself that it's like you can achieve even if you spent every second of the waking day like dedicating yourself to the task at hand.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got the expert as well, who feels like they should know everything about their work and see failure in even a minor lack of knowledge. And then the soloist, who believes they must complete all their work on their own and won't ask for any help, as they see that as failure. That used to be me. I'm good at asking questions, and I used to feel horrible asking for help with stuff, but actually, yeah.
Yeah, it's good that you've developed.
I think they all go hand in hand, because that kind of goes in with the expert, because it's like, how dare I not know something? Following on, we've got the natural genius, who feels like their success is based on their ability to grasp new things quickly. So that feeling of kind of being a fraud comes about when something doesn't come easily and requires some effort. So it's like if you're not good at something straight away, it's like, uh-oh, alarm bells. Lastly, we have the superhero, who tries to excel in absolutely everything they do, being an employee, parent, friend, picking up new hobbies, whatever it is. You feel like a failure if you don't succeed in every single thing all the time. And again, unrealistically high expectations, kind of setting yourself up for disappointment. So yeah, do any of those sound familiar to you, Dad? Or any of them like resonating?
Definitely not a natural genius.
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
Thanks. The expert is probably my Achilles heel. I am often worried about being found out that I don't know everything about the thing I'm working on. And how could you? That is kind of impossible.
I think they're all about setting unrealistic goals, and it's like, I don't know, it's like trying to find comfort in being disappointed in yourself. Like, why do we do that?
Yeah. That's definitely been the biggest kind for me. But I can relate to the others. I'm definitely a bit of a soloist a lot of the time at work. My colleagues would definitely say that about me.
Genetic then, you've passed that on. Thanks a lot.
Afraid so, yeah.
Rubbish of you, but whatever. So, yeah, you said natural genius.
Not a natural genius.
Oh, yeah, not a natural genius. Yeah, sorry.
Expert and soloist, yeah.
If those are the ones that resonate most with you, can you maybe give me some examples of when?
Yeah, first job as a manager, which is really early in my career in retail. First job when I moved into being a B2B salesperson, business to business salesperson, not knowing everything about what I was selling. I like really felt like an imposter.
Yeah.
In a corporate HR role, I was given responsibility for union negotiations, which I'd never had before. So felt way out of my depth. I had to learn all about that. My first marketing agency role, first time I was given P&L responsibility. You can see the patterns. Basically, first time in a new job throughout my entire career, from early on right up to
understandably, because it's like I've just started here. I don't know what's going on. I think the lack of experience and the lack of knowledge, it makes you feel inadequate, and it makes you feel like, how have I got into this position? Like, what have I done to deserve this? Everyone here knows more than me, but it's so unrealistic because, of course, people that have been there and done the job before know what they're doing. So I don't know why we put ourselves through the mental torment, because for me, it's the same. Anytime it's been a new job, or even like, I remember doing like an engineering competition in school. And a lot of the schools we were up against, I was like, oh my goodness, like our project isn't fancy enough. Like part of the competition was also about other teams coming up and like talking to you and asking you questions and stuff. And I remember there was like one question in particular that I had to pass along to someone. I was so embarrassed. And I remember on the bus home being like, oh, of course they asked me that question. Like they were trying to single me out because I look like I don't belong here. Like they knew I wasn't going to know this, blah, blah, blah. So that's, yeah, when we're talking about kind of first time experiencing that, I bet it was that night I went home and it was like, why am I rubbish? Why was I in this team?
I remember that competition, but I don't remember you ever talking about that experience. Anyone can kind of catastrophize things. You think that one thing, the whole thing is now a disaster because that didn't go right.
Well, we won the competition, which was the funny thing.
I know. It sounded like it was a great experience.
But then I remember being like, oh, so everyone else in the team like carried. I didn't really know what was going on, which wasn't true. But I just felt like I didn't really deserve that win. And I think that being asked that question that I didn't know really like triggered that.
And then that's something, it maybe becomes a learned behavior.
Yeah,
if that is happening at school, even if people at school don't realize it's a thing called imposter syndrome, we just carry that forward and we're constantly feeling like we're not good enough, or we're going to get found out when someone asks a question we don't know the answer to, right?
So, yeah, like I was saying, it all sounds pretty grim, and I think it's easy to unpack in theory. Like, yeah, I'm new here, I don't know anything, obviously I feel a bit out of place, but why is it still such a widespread thing then? What's actually causing it in our generations?
I think for Gen X mid-career, there is just this constant pressure to succeed, and work right now, it is quite unstable. There's a lot of uncertainty, so you feel if you put a foot wrong, you're going to be out.
Yeah.
And you've got a lot riding on your income. At this point in your life, you've maybe built a certain lifestyle and you can't afford to lose your job in most instances. And pretty much everywhere is really competitive. So people are working in highly competitive atmospheres, most corporate roles, and that can amplify those feelings of self-doubt.
Yeah.
I think a big thing for Gen X right now is technology. We entered the workforce like before the internet, the pre-digital age, and a lot of Gen X are really stressing out about staying relevant with AI. So we feel kind of overshadowed by younger colleagues who are perceived or we maybe perceive as more skilled with technology, and we just feel perpetually behind, kind of less competent in the digital world, always having to keep up, and it's never going to slow down, and that becomes really overwhelming.
Yeah.
And to go back to what you were saying about how the early observations of this were amongst women, I think there are lots of women in leadership positions who are Gen X who maybe face that historical pressure to adopt traditionally masculine behaviors if they wanted to succeed, and that maybe contributes to this feeling of being inauthentic, not being your real self in how you show up at work, and that is imposter syndrome.
Yeah, I think especially what you were saying there about like traditionally like a woman manager and a man manager could manage their teams the exact same way, but it's like, I think if you were a woman behaving that way, you'd be seen as like bitchy or bossy, whereas if you're a man, you're assertive and you're a good leader. So I think even just the language we use to like frame different traits, and you feel kind of like disconnected from being able to do those things without it having like a label attached. That definitely feeds into it. The gender thing, obviously, I've definitely experienced, my generation will have experienced. I think for us, I guess it kind of links to what you're saying about technology, and it's like the downside to us maybe being more technologically adept is that we're also all on social media. which just feels like you're constantly being evaluated against your peers or people that you don't even know, these really unrealistic benchmarks, constantly comparing yourself to everyone else online, whether it's, you know, physical appearance, whether it's what people are doing with their jobs, whether it's the amount of like free time people have. It's like, oh, how is this person on holiday all the time? They're obviously making more, they're, you know, making more money than me, have a better job. How am I gonna get myself into the position they're in? It's just this kind of curated feed of everyone's highlight reels, and it's Instagram, it's LinkedIn, it's Facebook, it's everything. And that can, like you say as well, feel really overwhelming.
Yeah, I mean, that's maybe worth an episode in its own right. There's 100%. Tons we could dig into around that. You see this kind of unrealistic view of how successful everyone else is.
And it's weird because we've been having this conversation for ages. Like, none of it's real. We have caveman brain. We have monkey brain. Monkey caveman brain honestly doesn't know that. It sees all the nice pictures of everyone else's life, and it's not doing all of the mental gymnastics and backflips to comfort itself. It's just going, oh no, I am not good enough, and where I am isn't good enough. And then I think as well, COVID didn't help because, like, for my generation in particular, whether you're in school or uni or actually starting your career, I feel like the way everything shifted to being online, I think we all feel like we really missed out on a lot of really key learning. And like I say, whether it was school, uni, actually starting work, I know everyone feels like they were pushed a few years back by COVID, but I think for us we were like, oh no, like everyone's telling us these are like the key years for like becoming a person, and now I feel like I'm behind, and by the time I'm my parents' age, I'm going to be behind where they were.
Yeah, it came at a really critical time for your generation. Yeah.
It's snowballing all the feelings that we already have about being inadequate and being kind of like lost in your teens or your 20s. So that really amplifies imposter syndrome. It's like the lack of in-person interaction and the challenges of the remote stuff we were doing. I think as well, pressure to meet parental expectations. I don't think you and mum put any major expectations, but everyone's parents, you know, expect something of them.
Have you felt it? Even though we might not have said anything expressly, do you think we have expectations on you?
You definitely do. That's the thing. Like, even, I don't think you and mum, you're ever going, like, you have to get these grades or we're going to disown you. Like, I think you expect things of me the same way I expect things of you. I think we both have expectations of each other. And I wasn't like 10 years old demanding, like, you have to pick up more hours because I want the Wii. I want a Wii. I want an Xbox. I want light up Skechers.
Yeah, you maybe did say some of that in terms of like what you said on Christmas lists and things.
Well, that's true. Well, I didn't ask you, I asked Santa. Thank you very much.
I know. Yeah.
So, but yeah, we both have expectations of each other, and then I think they just get internalized and kind of swished about like a big washing machine.
Yeah, and you feel you've got to deliver them for, you know, what your family expect of you.
Definitely.
You know, whether that's your kids or your parents.
Yeah. So, yeah, we're all feeling it. So what do I actually do about it, do you think?
We recognize it's part of a cycle. So you face a new task or a challenge and you start to feel anxiety or self-doubt. And in response, you might over-prepare or you might procrastinate or refuse to ask for help. Some of those things you were talking about earlier.
I love to procrastinate. That's so real.
Yeah. If you're successful, you then just put that down to luck, or it was external factors rather than your own ability. And that just reinforces those initial feelings of fear and doubt for the next task. And that kind of perpetuates the cycle.
Yeah.
I think recognizing this pattern, the way we think, the way we're behaving, is one of the first things you can do to feel imposter syndrome a bit less. A really good reframe for imposter syndrome is to recognize that when you feel it, you're probably right on the edge of your comfort zone. You're kind of pushing your limits, you're learning new things, and that's a really good place to be. So when you feel it, just remember this is where the growth happens.
That's true because, yeah, of course, no one likes to be the new guy. No one likes to not know stuff. But also it's being in those positions where you have to ask for help and you're forced to learn something new and try something different that you're going to achieve gaining new skills and achieve growth. So I absolutely agree with you on that one.
Yeah. Have you heard the expression, don't compare your insides to other people's outsides?
No, but that's good.
So it's this idea that you might be doubting yourself and then you're comparing yourself with the people you look up to who project this really confident, charismatic, seemingly successful persona. But you need to remember the majority of them are feeling the same thing.
Yeah.
That's what the research said. 50 to 65% of us have felt it. But we don't see that because they come across as all put together and sorted, that kind of curated image.
I would say there's probably also an element of fake it till you make it. Like, on top of all of the doing the inner work and kind of catching yourself out with these thoughts and, you know, all of the psychology, all the stuff about breaking the cycle. On top of that, I think you should also be aiming to kind of give out the image of like, well, I am confident and I am capable of my abilities, even if you're not 100% inside. If you're going to ask a question, I think asking it with confidence and being like, this is something that I don't know, but I'm here to learn. Like,
absolutely.
I don't have any unrealistic expectations of myself. I'm just here for growth, you know. I feel like that's gonna help because actually, yeah, when you fake it for long enough,
you start to believe your own hype.
Yeah.
You know, but that can be what breaks you out of the cycle.
You need to be your own hype man, ultimately.
I know from the work I do where we're coaching people that have been laid off or facing other career challenges, it's incredibly common.
Yeah.
And in coaching, so many people admit to feeling imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And there are some really senior, really successful people who will confide in a coach that that's the case.
Yeah. It's like, I wouldn't have guessed.
Definitely something that affects the majority. So don't think it's just you and everyone else is doing A-okay because they're not.
Yeah.
And in particular, for anyone is facing a layoff or is worried about a layoff, please remember it's the job that's being made redundant. It's not you. So don't take it as validation that you weren't good enough. I've been through 2 layoffs. I know it's hard, but don't take the fact that you've been laid off to mean that this proves your imposter syndrome is right, because it's not. Please remember that.
Yeah.
What about you, Lily? What do you think you'll do to combat it?
Well, I think actually what you've just said there about, you know, don't try and like prove yourself right. Don't try and prove the imposter syndrome right. I think that's useful. Like, I've realized in the past, sometimes it's like you go looking for proof that the like nasty little voice in your head is right, but you do have control over your own thoughts, and you're actually, especially once you get into the habit of it, like, it's not too difficult to just be like, no, I'm not gonna engage with this thought, and I'm not gonna give it the space to like fester and get nasty here, because it's actually just me. I'm nitpicking all my stuff more than anyone else is, just because I'm trying to validate this bad feeling. Yeah, I think sometimes it feels good to kind of wallow in self-pity rather than just like plunge into the uncomfortableness of like not knowing stuff.
Yeah, but we have to be comfortable with the uncomfortable,
Yeah,
you know, because like I said, that's where you're learning new things. Yeah.
So I think, yeah, for me, just not getting into the habit of trying to prove the nasty little voice in my head right. And yeah, like you say, get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And then on top of that, like looking for employers that have supportive kind of cultures with communication and a focus on well-being, a good mental health, maybe more than like the cutthroat competitive cultures. Especially like early on in my career, like I feel like I don't want to be doing the whole like switch off emotionally and just like, yeah. I think as well, looking for mentors to confide in and kind of seek support from if I'm struggling. That's probably something that Gen Z is a bit better at in terms of like seeking help for stuff, because we've had a bit more of an open conversation about mental health. We're definitely going in the right direction with that. And I think maybe other generations, your generation, could take some notes possibly.
Yeah, you're right. I think different generations will cope with it differently. Gen X is probably going to rely more on their established networks, because we weren't really raised in a culture where talking about your mental health is that common. So it's harder to be open about it, especially when we might now be in more senior roles.
Yeah.
So we're probably going to seek advice from a more trusted kind of inner circle, or even just have internal coping mechanisms.
Yeah, because if you're already high up and then you're having a bit of a internal panic, you don't want. I feel like there's probably the fear of like, oh, other people are going to start doubting me now if I show that I am doubting myself.
Yeah, you can't afford to be a bit vulnerable.
Yeah.
Because you think, oh, well, he doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah.
Let's get rid of it.
Yeah.
That is the worry.
Yeah.
So what did you find out about the best approaches?
That whole thing I was talking about, like basically just self-compassion and reframing the negative thoughts, the nasty voice in your head. I'd say that's a pretty crucial first step. So identifying when you're slipping into the patterns of like self-doubt and actually challenging them. Like pretty often we just let those thoughts bounce about in our heads and don't actually go, well, okay, like why am I thinking this? Like what's triggering this? Where's this coming from? For me, like I love to journal. I'm a journal girly and it's so good. It's like a big brain dump. And also I love that like my hands are always so sore afterwards because like I write one thing down and then I'm like, oh my God, like that actually reminds me and you can actually see. I love like rereading old entries back because it's like sometimes you can literally see this thought like unsprawling across the page, and by the time you've written like 4 pages or whatever and you're on a completely different subject and you've unpacked like 5 different things, so I would say that's definitely a good thing to do.
See, I hear a lot about it. It's something I've never done.
No, you know the trick, you know the thing everyone always says, like journal every single night, like you need to get into a routine with it, blah, blah, blah. When I was doing that, I hated it. I was like, I don't want to sit at my desk every single night. Like sometimes I want to put Netflix on and then fall asleep with, you know, my face and my Doritos or whatever. I don't want to sit at my desk every single night and write out how like miserable I feel, like that. No. But actually, if you just do it when you feel the urge to, like sometimes now I'm kind of in a habit of being like, oh, I have to sit down and like get all this out of my head, like especially if I'm going through a period of like not being able to sleep because I'm ruminating on so much. That's when I'm like, okay, I feel like called to do it. And then
Right, okay.
I feel like that is when you get better results out of it. You're not turning it into a chore. And then once you've experienced the benefits of it one time, obviously like it won't be for everyone still, but I think everyone needs to stop saying like you have to do it all the time, you have to get into a routine with it. I probably don't do it that often, but when I do, I am sat here for ages and ages and like my hands cramping. And yeah, what else? Set more realistic expectations and acknowledge that like this idea of yourself you've got in your head that you're never going to make any mistakes or have to ask any questions, like that's not realistic. And be realistic and break big goals down into smaller manageable goals and actually give yourself a pat on the back when you achieve those goals, because it's like we've been saying the whole time, like even if you do achieve something and you feel like you don't deserve it, like you need to stop doing that, because how did you get into that position then?
Yeah, good advice. Yeah.
Okay.
What's one thing you'll take from our discussion that you will try and stick to overcome these feelings of imposter syndrome?
I think actually the research for this one about how common it is. I've only ever really talked about it like within my own circles, so it's quite comforting to know that it's basically like an intergenerational experience and nearly everyone is going to go through it at some point in their life. That's quite a nice thought. I think it's probably just the good old human brain with its usual malarkey in modern society. But that, I think that's what I'll take away, because I never really realised how like common it was. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it affects most people. What, 80% was that the figure?
Yeah, what about you? Like what do you think you could take away from this chat today?
Asking for help more.
Yeah.
That soloist thing.
Yeah.
I think I've kind of got over the kind of expert, feeling I need to know everything, but could definitely ask for help when my plate's a bit full. Knowing that I've got people round about me at work that I can depend on,
Yeah.
who will help. It's not like that is going to instantly cause big problems in terms of my performance. I think people will,
people to lose respect for you or any of those kinds of things.
Yeah. We help each other out. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, it's nice to know you've got a strong support network around. Like I know I'm with my friends and stuff, and then if you've got a good team at work, you just sometimes need a bit of encouragement.
Yeah, makes a difference.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So I think that is the end of another launch episode.
Yeah.
Yay! If you've enjoyed this one, please do give us a follow and a 5-star rating on your podcasting app of choice. This is just really important for us in the first few weeks of a new podcast to help it find its feet and its audience. And then while you're at it, if you have a couple of minutes to spare, we'd really love it if you could write us a review as well. And again, that'll just help people find us. And if you have any feedback as well, obviously we'd really welcome any of that too in these early days so that we can learn from it. If you'd like to connect with us, you can follow us on LinkedIn. Our links are in the show notes. For our next episode, a topic triggered by this discussion, we're going to be talking about bad bosses. We've all had them. For some stories about bad bosses we've both had, and for what you can do when you're working for one, please download that and have a little listen. Lastly, thank you for listening to this episode of the Gen XZ Exchange.